Hello, I'm over here and welcome to another lecture video. Today we will be discussing the introduction to robotics, the first lesson for the Robot 10 subject. For our learning objectives, we will define the word robot, describe the needed skills in doing robotics, understand the basic components of robots, and create a model robot that will be helpful in any of societal problems. Now, I know you are familiar with the word robot or the concept of a robot since the word robot is not foreign to us. We are familiar with them because of the science fiction, the various lovable characters we see from movies, television, and also novels. And it has been a very interesting field, especially in the field of engineering. But how do we formally define robot? Historically, the word robot has been first used in 1920, and it was coined by a science fiction novelist named Karel Capek. The Czech word for worker or servant is robota, which where we got the word robot from. Benry and Mondala in 2017 formally defined robot as a machine capable of carrying out a complex series of actions automatically, especially one programmable by a computer. Now, the term robot can be quite uh, non-definitive. So when we say there is some flexibility in the word robot, but take note that there is a specific set of characteristics highlighted here in our slide. So again, it must be a machine, so it must be a physical entity. Next, it must be able to create or carry out complex series of actions automatically. So take note of the word automatically, and we do that automatically because it's programmable. So we create a robot, a physical machine that is capable of doing a series of tasks because it was programmed to do so. In a different definition, a robot is a machine that has the ability to interact with the physical objects. So it does not simply process its environment, but it also carries out tasks through interaction with the physical environment. So it was programmed to perform specific tasks or a whole range of tasks or actions depending on the complexity programmed by whoever the programmer. Okay, so it is also be able to, or it must also be able to perceive and absorb data on physical objects through sensors. So it must be able to perceive or process the data from the environment and respond to that environment using the program that the programmer has installed in the robot. Now, what's the difference between a machine and a robot? So take note, a robot has the following characteristics. Again, it's a physical machine. So AI, for example, is not considered as a robot because it's not a physical entity. It's simply a software. If we put an AI into a machine and it does specific tasks, then that's the only way it will become a robot. Okay, so one, it has to be a physical machine. Two, it has to be programmable. So we will be using various language codes in order to alter the program or create the program of the robot. Next, it must be capable of sensory inputs. And for this, you will be using different sensors depending on the type of data that the robot requires. Next, it is capable of computations, meaning it is capable of processing whichever data it can get from its sensors. Then from the computation, it is able to carry out complex tasks. Now take note of the word complex tasks. Opening and closing an item or a door is not considered as a complex task. But if we say something is complex, right, you have to consider different conditions. There are options or a series of options in the tasks that the robot must perform. And number 6, it must be semi or fully autonomous, or meaning independent, using its own software. Now, semi meaning it has some sort of independence, but the programmer may opt to not completely automate the robot due to certain conditions, or it could be fully automated depending on the program and the situation where the robot is being utilized. A prime example of a robot here in the Philippines is the DOST's autonomous surveillance robot, also called as Roamer. So as you can see, it's not a humanoid robot. When we say humanoid robot, it looks like a human. But this is more of a car type of robot. And from its design, you will already perceive what is the purpose of this robot. So as you can see, it's a four-wheeler robot, like a car type. It has multiple sensors attached to it as well. Now, what is ROMOR for? ROMOR stands for Robot for Optimized and Autonomous Mission Enhancement Responses, also known as the ROMOR project. Now, the purpose of the ROMOR is to scan the banana plantations and to make sure or to maintain the banana plants in a particular plantation. So the robot is capable of mapping out its environment and also detect any pests, diseases, and whatever are the needs of the banana plants. If the robot detects that the plants need fertilizer, it will deliver fertilizer, and if it detects it has diseases, it will be able to provide pesticides and such. Now, as you can see here, the roamer, or yes, the robot roamer is capable of one. It's a first characteristic of robots. It is a simple machine. So it is a simple machine with four wheels. It's programmable because the creators of this robot programmed the robot to recognize the terrain and also the plant conditions of the banana. Next, it is equipped with sensors like camera sensors, topography sensors, and the like, and it is able to compute to verify if the bananas have diseases or it needs fertilizer, and lastly, it can carry out tasks depending on the data. And lastly, it can be semi-autonomous. So in this case, this is a very good use of robotics because it eases the burden of farmers. Now, instead of manually doing all these things, it can automate or semi-automate the monitoring of banana plants in their plantation. Now, the machines and robots are often found in our daily life. Maybe they just don't look like the humanoids we see on movies and television, but they are currently already present in our daily life. So, for example, here, which of these machines is considered as a robot? So take note, a robot is also considered as a machine, but instead of being a simple mechanical machine, we take it a step higher by making it programmable and also automated or semi-automated. So the one on the left, the one we often use or see in construction, is a machine. It's a hydraulic machine, but there is always an operator using this crane or this machine. So it's not considered as a robot. On the other hand, automated vacuum cleaners, wherein they are able to map the house, they can time what time they will clean, they will detect the dust, they will step away from any obstacles and also go back to their original position for charging. Completely automated is considered as a robot because it is programmable, it's physical, and it can sense its environment, do tasks accordingly depending on their environment. Now, sometimes there is a blur between these definitions. There are somewhat pseudo robots that they are quite automatic already, but not particularly a robot because it's not programmable. It can be programmed to do one thing, but that's pretty much it. Their capabilities are limited, therefore it cannot be completely considered as a robot. So for example, the automatic doors that open when you go to the mall and such, Technically, it is physical, it is programmed, but it's not a complex series of tasks. It's open and closed, and that's pretty much it. All right, now why are we studying robotics in the first place? Now, robotics is an experience with multidisciplinary activities. Robotics is the field wherein you can um, take all your learnings from different subjects and also apply it into one singular problem wherein you can make a difference. It is an experience because it will take a lot of time and attention and thinking, but it's worth it because it's application. It's a simulation of the real world, right? The reason why you are in school is because we want to equip you with the knowledge and the skills to apply all these things. And robotics is a perfect way to practice addressing concerns in the real world. Next, robotics is a hook that keeps students striving for more challenges. So yes, robotics will give you multiple challenges. Perhaps 1 week or every 2 weeks, we will be giving you challenges that you guys need to overcome, be it individually or by group. But that's the good thing because you get used to facing and overcoming challenges, and you will see that you develop your personal skills, soft skills, and knowledge while fixing or overcoming these challenges. Third, robotics is a doorway to build and develop thinking skills. So there are multiple thinking skills that are developed in robotics. For example, creativity, problem solving, collaboration, and the like. Now, so given all these things, how do you start designing a robot? Because ultimately, this is the purpose of robotics, right? That you should be able to design your own robot. The first thing that you should understand is the components of the robot. And I think we can use a good example so that we can jump off and explain what a robot could be. So this is a Raspberry Turk. This is an open source robot. When we say open source, meaning the blueprint, the mechanics, and the program is available online. So if you want to make your own Raspberry Turk, you simply need to follow the instructions. They give the instructions for free. And that's the good thing about the field of robotics. It's quite generous when it comes to knowledge. So if you are willing to learn, there are so many tutorials, help forums online. And yeah, that's a culture in robotics. So going back to Raspberry Turk, so the Raspberry Turk is an open source robot and it can play chess. This is an open source based on Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is a different controller than we use in Arduino, but it is still a very interesting example of what robots can do. So let's analyze the parts of the Raspberry Turk. Now, the Raspberry Turk is made up of a robot control loop, meaning it has the basic components of a robot. So, the robot control loop is a fundamental robot system that enables robots to intelligently interact with their environment. So, by continuously comparing a desired state or set point with the robot's actual state or feedback. Now, in your program, you will be defining what your set point is, meaning what is the target? That's the set point. That's the desired state. Now, the robot will continuously look for that set point or target with the actual state of its environment or the feedback using the sensors that you have utilized. So, for example, you have created a robot wherein it will turn left if it sees the color red. So again, if you have designed a robot that will turn left if it's color red. So the set point in this scenario is color red. Okay, so the sensor, or in this case, the color sensor, will continuously look for the color red from its environment. And that is the comparison of the actual state versus, or the feedback versus the set point. So am I seeing red? Is the robot seeing red? No, then it's not gonna turn left. But once it sees a turn left or the red, the set point, it will do the task that it is programmed to do. Now, it is a closed loop to ensure that the robots can perform tasks with precision and adaptability. So that means as much as possible in your program, it has to be definitive. So if you are familiar with the if loop, so if, for example, if you see color red, turn left. Otherwise, go straight. So you have to define what the robot should do. There should be no question. Otherwise, the program will not work. So there should be no blanks in the programming to make a closed loop. So here you have the 4 different components of the robot control loop. You have your sensor, which the robot will use to survey its environment. So you have the environment wherein the scenario where the robot will be situated or where you will put your robot. The sensors, which will survey the surroundings, the controller, so more of that later, and also the actuator. So we'll go through them one by one. Alright, now in the Raspberry Turk uses a camera in order, or the Raspberry Pi camera module, in order to see the state of the chessboard. So remember, the Raspberry Turk can play chess against a human being. It wins most of the time. It's still, it uses machine learning, by the way, to create the moves. So it must be able to see the moves and process the moves. So it uses the Raspberry Pi camera module to see the board. So you can see here on top, it has a camera here in the middle, and there's also a light source to ensure that the robot will see or will sense the pieces of the board correctly. So that's the beginning. You have the environment, which is the chessboard, and then the sensor used is the Raspberry Pi camera module. Now, once the robot has the data, it will now send the data to the controller. Now, there are different types of sensors. The commonly used here, in my experience, are often the accelerator, gyro accelerator sensor, so that your robot can know the speed of where it is currently. It also uses the color sensor, the touch sensor, and the like. Now, you don't have to install all of this in your robot at once. You just need to pick out what is required or what is needed for your robot's design. Now, moving to the controller. The controller is a computational unit, hardware and software, that receives feedback from the sensors, compares it to the desired set point, and generates control signals. So when we say controller, this is not the PS5 controller or Xbox controller. This is your system. So in cases of the Raspberry Turk, it uses the Raspberry Pi system. So it uses the board of the Raspberry Pi, and it uses the Raspberry Pi programming. In our case, we will be using Arduino, so that's our controller, and we will be using the C+ programming. So that's our computational unit, the motherboard or the system that will process the data from the sensors and where we will upload the program of the robot. That's the controller. So in the case of the Raspberry Pi, the environment is the chessboard, the sensors is the camera, and then the images taken by the camera is sent to the controller, or in this case, the Raspberry Pi. And then, since the controller now is able to process the data sent by the camera module, so it detects, okay, so the opponent has now moved. What next? So the movement or the pieces of the chessboard will be moved by the actuators. The actuators are the collective term for devices that execute the control signals, causing the robot to move or perform actions. Now, in the case of the Raspberry Pi, it has a servo called Dynamic Cell AX. So this is the servo it uses to move the mechanical arm of the robot, and then it has an electromagnetic gripper. So the pieces or the chess pieces are magnetic. So it has magnets. And then the electromagnetic gripper will control the electromagnetic impulses to attach the piece and then drop it accordingly to where the piece should be moved. Now, there are different types of actuators, and most likely in the future, if you're not making something so robust, we're only gonna be use the electric motor, which is often used in today's competitions and the like. The hydraulic and pneumatic control valves are for larger robots that are often used in industry. Okay, so that is pretty much the main components of robots. And I think that should end our introduction to robots. If you have any questions, feel free to message me in Microsoft Teams, and please look for the next activity linked to this video. Thank you and stay safe.